Hey everyone, my name is Brian Hancock, and in today's video I'm going to show you how you can use ChatGPT, Midjourney, and Dreambooth to create children's stories where kids are the heroes of their own adventures. So let me go ahead and show you what we're going to be making. Over here on the left is a picture of my wife, and then over here on the right is a customized children's storybook where my wife is the main character of her own journey. So we've used Midjourney to create all the different pictures. We used Dreambooth to fill in my wife's face, and then the entire plot and all the text was created using ChatGPT. I think this technology is honestly amazing. So in this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to go about creating your own children's book. I also think that this could be an amazing business opportunity. So I want to show you a few examples of how other creators are already using this technology to make some money online. So let's go ahead and get started. To make this tutorial easier to follow, I've broken it up into 9 different steps, and I've placed a timestamp for each one of these steps down in the description below. So let's go ahead and get started with step number 1. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is capture at least 20 pictures of your main character. I recommend getting at least 10 headshots taken from different angles, different facial expressions. Have fun with it. After that, you're going to want to get at least 5 upper body pictures. So make sure just to move your hands around, move your arms and everything else. And then you're going to want to take an additional 5 full body pictures. So be standing in different positions, move your hands, move your arms, your legs, everything. Variation is key here. So let me go ahead and show you some of the example pictures that we used to train our model. All right, so here's some of the pictures that we took of Carly to train our model. And what you'll notice is that we took pictures in different positions, full body, different angles, different facial expressions, inside, outside. We moved our arms, smiled, pretty much everything that we could in order to include variation to help train our model. Once you get those 20 pictures, now we're on to the next step. All right, now we're in step 2. And in step 2, we're going to reformat all the pictures that we just took. This means we're going to rename them, resize them, and make sure they're all in the same format. The reason we want to do this is because we have to feed everything into Dreambooth, and it has to be in a particular order for it to work properly. So let me show you how we're going to do this. All right, so the first thing we need to do is get the 20-something pictures off of our phone and move them over to our computer. And thankfully, I have a Mac, so I was able to airdrop everything over, and that's how you're seeing all the pictures you see right now. What we need to do next is reformat all these pictures from a .heic to a .png file format. And the reason we want to do that is because Dreambooth can only accept certain file types. The best online converter tool that I found is called aconvert.com. I'll put a link to it in the description down below, but all you have to do is just pick all your files, select them, upload them, and then just click convert. This will probably take a few minutes, but once it's done, we'll download them and move on to the next step. So it took a few minutes, but all my pictures eventually finished converting, so I downloaded them to my computer and placed them in their own folder. And now we're going to be able to move on to the next step, which is resizing all of our pictures to the proper 512 by 512 pixel ratio. The tool that we're going to be using to do this is called Berm. It's very simple to use. All you have to do is go in and browse to find the pictures that you just converted to the proper format, open them, and now this should take a few minutes to upload all the different pictures. But once it does, what we're going to do is click the resize and crop button. And it might not right off the bat go ahead and have the 512 by 512 pixel ratio. If it's not that, just go ahead and change it to the proper thing. But what you'll notice that's pretty cool is that it automatically finds the subject in the picture, and we can drag these squares up and down to capture our subject. So I'm just gonna do that for a few pictures real fast. You'll be sure to do it for all of them. And then once you're done, you're just gonna hit resize and crop. And once you're done, you're going to go ahead and click the save files button. And this should take a few minutes to download all the different pictures that you just created. Once all of your resized pictures finish downloading, what we're gonna do is copy them back into our formatted folder. And then the next step is we're going to rename and /number all of these pictures. To make your life easier, I've created a Python script that you can download in the file description below. Once you download and open it, you should see something similar to this. And you'll notice that I have 2 to-dos in here for you. The first one is to update the directory where all of your pictures are saved. And the second one is to come up with a unique character name. Usually just the name of your kid or whatever you want should work. The easiest way to find the directory where all of your files are saved is just to right click on one of these pictures, click get information, copy the where, and then come back and paste it after that / right there. And what you'll notice just Python code wise, we're looking at our home directory, so we can actually skip all the stuff that is our home directory, and we should end up with something like this. Throw a little / here, and it actually does not like spaces, so I'm going to come back, put some underscores, go back to our file over here, add some underscores as well. If we don't do this, we're going to get some issues. Cool. Now all that's saved. And then we need to update our unique character ID, but I'm fine with how it is. So next we'll open up our terminal so we can run our Python script. Now this does assume that you have Python installed. If you don't, I would definitely just go check out a quick Python installation video and everything should work. So Python file number, I'll hit run, and what you'll notice is all of the pictures that were saved are now renamed. Especially if we head back over to our folder, you'll now see that it has our unique character name followed by a special numbering sequence. This was requested by the Dreambooth instruction manual, so now we're ready to move on to the next step. Congrats. All right, congrats. You got a lot of the boring work out of the way first, and now we get to move on with using a lot of the new AI tools. The first tool that we're going to be using is ChatGPT, and we're going to be using it to generate the plot of our story. Now this plot is going to be the cornerstone of everything else that we're going to be doing, so this part is very important. So let's hop over to a ChatGPT window and get started. All right, so now we're inside of a ChatGPT window, so let's go ahead and paste in our prompt. A few of the key things to note are the fact that I asked for 5 plots for a girls' children's book. The reason I asked for 5 is because I'd like to see a list with different variations so I can pick and choose the one that I like the best. I also include the word girl because we're making this book about my wife. And lastly, I wanted to include valuable life lessons. This allows for a lot of character development and can create some really unique stories. Let's go ahead and press enter and see what we get. So as you can see, ChatGPT came up with 5 different plots that are all awesome in my opinion. But what's great about this tool is that it's very much like a conversation like you and I were talking. So what I could tell it is say, hey, I really like number 4. It is important to be honest. So I want you to make 5 more prompts that are similar to this. So what we'll do is go ahead and start that and see what results it gives us. I think this is awesome. ChatGPT just came up with 5 more plots that are super similar to number 4. If you didn't like any of these, you can ask it to mix 2 and 4 to come up with a new plot. But in our case, I'm going to go back to the original plot that I had when I first created the Carly's Cake story, which you can see right here. So the next thing that we need to do is convert our plot into a full-blown story. And in order to do that, we need to follow a special template that I've created. So let's hop back over to a new window in ChatGPT and create our story. So what you're going to want to do is go back over to ChatGPT and hit New Chat. This will open up a new window, and you're going to want to copy this prompt. So I'm going to go part by part to make it as easy as possible. So the first thing that we're asking is to generate a 3-part children's book with the following plot and main character. We're asking it to be sure to incorporate challenges that the main character has to overcome to make the story engaging. The reason I say 3 parts is because if you don't, the children's book is way too small. The other part is I ask it to overcome challenges because we want to add some character development and to make that story engaging. The next part is you will copy and paste the plot that you prefer right here. And the next thing is we need to add some character dynamics. The reason we do this is because we want it to be tailored to the person that we're making the story about. So in this case, I'm making it about my wife, Carly. I'm saying she's 8 years old. She's a cute girl, energetic, smart, and loving. And her strength is that she's a very competitive girl, but her weakness is sometimes she can actually be over competitive. Whenever we hit enter, what will happen next is it'll actually go about generating a 3-part story. Now this part can be pretty long, so you might just want to wait back and let it finish the story. All right, so just finished wrapping up creating our story, and we have one last task. We want to turn in this 3-part children book into a full-blown book. So every book has a great title, so we'll copy that prompt in and we'll generate those. Similar to beforehand, we can ask it to tweak the titles, mix a few of the titles together, really whatever we want. So once you come up with a title that you like, copy it back over to your notepad so we can keep track of everything. And now we're going to move on to the next step. So we're officially on step 5 now, and this is the last ChatGPT step. The main thing that we're going to be doing in this step is converting each paragraph in our story into a descriptive scene. And the reason we want to do that is because we're creating a children's book. And above each little paragraph, we want to have a picture of our main character doing something. So let's hop back over to ChatGPT for the last time and go through and create all of our descriptive scenes for our storybook. So before we start copying in the different paragraphs from our story, what we need to do first is to go back over to ChatGPT and start a new chat. And we're going to paste a new prompt that you're going to use for each paragraph. Here's some of the key points in this prompt. We want to create a descriptive scene, and this scene needs to be less than 30 words. I found if you make it any longer, the Midjourney tool that we're going to use later just doesn't detect the prompt. And lastly, we want to describe the main character and the actions they're taking, and also some of the background. All right, so this is the prompt you're going to paste above each part of your paragraph. Let's go back over to our paragraph, copy and paste it, and start generating our descriptive scenes. So what you'll notice is it's describing our main character, what they're doing, and where they're at. So we're going to repeat this process for each paragraph in our story. So let's move on to the next step. All right, we're now on step 6. And in this step, we're going to start using Midjourney to generate pictures based off the scenes that we created with ChatGPT. So in this section, I'm going to break down how to log in to Midjourney. I'm going to show you how to use it, and then we're going to start generating some of the pictures based off our descriptions. So let's go ahead and hop over to our computer. So the first thing we need to do to start accessing Midjourney is to head over to midjourney.com. And once you do that, you'll be met with a funky looking page just like this. In order to start using Midjourney, what you'll need to do is click the sign in button. And after that, you'll be brought to a prompt like this, which is asking connect your Midjourney account to your Discord account. So if you haven't already created a Discord account, what you'll need to do is head over to that website and create an account real fast. But once you do that, you'll come back over here and allow Midjourney to connect to Discord. Since I've already used Midjourney, you'll notice that a lot of my pictures are already pre-populated and everything. Yours will probably be empty. However, one of the things you'll notice is we have nowhere to go about creating new pictures. And that's because we have to head over to Discord to start using Midjourney. So let me give you a quick tutorial on how Midjourney works. And I think the best way to go about using this is to actually look at some of the pictures that are being created on Midjourney right now. One of the first things that you'll notice is that we're inside of a newcomer room over here on the left side. The reason why we're in a newbie room is because we're given 25 free images to create for free right out the gate. And then after that, we'll have to switch over to a paid plan, which I think is about $10 a month. So one of the things that you'll start to notice is that a bunch of different users are creating these different pictures. And the way they're going about doing it is passing in prompts just like this. So mystic glowing animal avatar, art, nature background, realistic 8K. So the closer or more towards the beginning of a sentence a word is, the more prominent it will be shown in the picture. So mystic glowing animal, that's pretty much what you're looking at. And the further along you go, these are just more stylistic choice words that you can use to help provide a different theme. So what you'll also notice down here at the bottom, there's U1234, V1234. They'll give you the option to either upscale an image or to generate different variations based off of specific pictures. So if you wanted one more on this first picture, you would just hit variation 1. And if you wanted to finally pick choice 4, you could just go with upscale 4. And that way you can go ahead and create a 512 by 512 picture and save it. And if you didn't like any of the options that it showed you, you can hit this little regenerate button over here on the right. Okay, cool. So now you know how to use Midjourney. So what we're going to do is go back over to our initial prompts that we created for our story. All right, so our prompt was back in ChatGPT. So what I'm going to do is copy and paste this prompt right here, come back over to Midjourney, type in / and then hit tab. So we're typing in imagine. And we're going to pass in the prompt. Now, one of the things you'll notice is it's saying Carly was determined to be the best soccer player, but Midjourney doesn't know who Carly is. So we need to pass in some generic terms describing Carly. So I'm going to say 8-year-old girl, Caucasian. Okay, now when we hit enter, it's going to send this command to Midjourney. And after that, it's going to take about 1 to 2 minutes to generate the picture. And what you'll notice though is other people are also going to be submitting their prompts at the same time. So we might actually kind of lose our pictures for a little bit, but don't worry. All you have to do is just swipe up and down for a little bit and you'll be able to find your pictures. So right now our pictures are 31% done. So you can see that they're being created in real time, which I think is super cool. And at first they're going to look really funny looking. And that's just because it's going through a bunch of different cycles to where it makes a picture of the girl, makes another picture of the girl, makes another picture of the girl, and it just keeps going in iterations and more iterations. So you can see, if we click this picture, there's 4 different versions of those. The only one that I'm kind of a fan of is number 4, but I really don't like any of them. So what we'll do is just hit the regenerate button and it'll create 4 new variations of these pictures. Now what's great is you can just keep doing this as much as you want. Like I said, there is a cap though. But once you do that, it's $10 a month, totally worth it. So I'm going to come back once I found a picture that I really like. All right, so Midjourney finally created a picture that looks awesome. I actually had to do a little bit of tweaking to the prompt that ChatGPT generated. instead of playing on a dimly lit soccer field, which was kind of creepy, I just said a green soccer field instead. There's nothing saying you have to get stuck to the prompts that ChatGPT gives you, so feel free to do whatever you want. It's just saves you a lot of time up front. But I think this first picture looks awesome. So what I've done is whenever I click U1, so I went to upscale that picture, it will generate it for us so we can go about saving it. So I'm going to scroll down just a little bit to find it. As you can see, people are pretty busy, but boom. So here's the picture that it generated. So now I can just go ahead and save this picture wherever I want, and we'll go from there. Another helpful tip that I wanted to pass along to you guys was to create different variations of a picture. So for example, if you really, really like this picture here, what you can do is click the little web button and it will open it up into a new tab and hit copy image address, come back into Midjourney. What we'll do is paste the link to it, and then we can say 8-year-old girl soccer player sitting on the bench. Now what'll happen is it should regenerate a new picture, but keep the entire themes, the girl's face, what the girl's wearing. It should keep it all somewhat similar to what the original picture that we just passed in. And you don't have to stick strictly to pictures generated from Midjourney. You can use pictures from anywhere on the internet. Even if you've taken a picture, you can use it. All you need to do is pass in a public link that Midjourney can access. So we're going to pause and load it back up once it's finally made the new pictures. So we've officially made it to step 7, but let's quickly recap what we've done so far. We've generated an entire book using ChatGPT. Then for each one of the paragraphs in this book, we created pictures thanks to Midjourney. And now we're on the third step where we're going to put our character's face inside each one of these pictures. But before we can do that, we have to train our model in Dreambooth. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do on our computer. All right, welcome to Dreambooth. I want to show you a quick overview of how it works before we get started. So what you'll notice is we start training our model with some input images. And once we have a trained model, we can start saying different words, and it will basically in-paint our model into the different scenarios. So we can say we want our pup swimming, sleeping, in a bucket, getting a haircut. And these Dreambooth models will know how to properly put our different characters in these different situations, which is mind-blowing in my opinion. So in order for us to do this, what we're going to have to do is head over to this Jupyter notebook. Now I'm going to put a link for this up in the description below, so don't worry, but let me walk you through exactly how this is going to work. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is click this copy to drive button. What this is going to do is actually move this Jupyter notebook inside of your Google Drive. Now it's actually pretty straightforward from this point forward, but what I'm going to do is walk you through each step. So what you're going to need to do is pretty much from top to bottom, hit the play button. So I'm going to go do that real fast. So this first one is asking to connect this Jupyter notebook to our Google Drive. So we're just going to say yes. We're going to allow it to connect to Google Drive, connect to my account, let it connect. All right. Now it should take a few seconds to connect. Fantastic. So it just connected. Now we'll move on to the next step, which is installing our dependencies. This part usually takes about 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, cool. So now it just finished installing our dependencies. Now what we're going to do is move on to downloading our models. Since this is the first time doing this, we're not going to skip this cell. We're actually going to play it, but what you notice that you're going to need to do is put in a hugging face token. So in order to do this, what you need to do is go over to hugging face. And then what you're going to do is create an account if you already haven't made one. I've made one. But once you do, what you're going to do is click your settings. Once you're in your settings, you're then going to click access tokens. And what you'll do is you'll make a read permission access token, copy it, then you'll come back over to your Dreambooth and paste it in here. I'm going to hide mine so you can't see it, but what we'll do is run it anyway. All right, fantastic. We just finished downloading our models. So now what we're going to do is move on to creating our Dreambooth session. So in order to do this, we need to come up with a session for it. I'm going to use the same name as the variable that we created earlier. So cool. Now we will create the session. And you'll notice here it says the most important step is to rename the instance of pictures of each subject to the unique identifier, and that's what we've actually done. So I'm gonna go ahead and create the session. It's been created. Now what we need to do is point to the images to the image folder. So I'm gonna show you how to do that real fast. All right, so this part is a little bit nuanced, so I just want to take you through it real slow. What you'll need to do is upload all of your pictures into a specific folder, and this folder needs to have the same name as your unique ID that you've used for all your pictures. Once you've done that, what you need to do is remember that this is in My Drive, SD, and then the name of your character. What you'll do next is go back up, you'll copy this, go back down, and this is where we start pasting it. So we're in Content, G Drive. Remember that we were in My Drive /SD / Carly Rae Hancock. So SD / and it is important that you use the same capitalization shown throughout these addresses. Okay, once we've done that, we'll keep scrolling down. We'll notice that the crop size is 512. Our pictures are already 512, so we can go ahead and run it. You'll notice that it has found the 27 pictures that we've created, so something is working. If you don't see that it is showing the exact number of pictures that you've uploaded, I'd go back and make sure that you've copied your pictures into the proper Google Drive folder and that you have provided the proper file path. And yeah, feel free to just drop me a comment down below if you have any questions or get stuck. Now we get to move on to the fun part, which is actually training our model. So you'll see that it has a step called Start Dreambooth. You honestly can ignore everything that it's saying. All we need to do is pretty much just hit the run button. So we'll hit run. Now this is the part that takes about 30 minutes. So feel free to literally just walk around, go do something else. This is gonna take a minute. So see y'all in just a second. All right, so our model just finished training and it took about 30 minutes or so. So the next step that we're gonna do is hop back over to our Colab notebook and spin up a web UI. And in this web UI, what we're gonna be able to do is put our main character's face, the model we just trained, and we're gonna be able to in-paint it into all the Midjourney scenes that we generated earlier. So let's go ahead and hop over and get started. All right, so we're in our Jupyter notebook, and if you look, we have a little check mark because our training was completed. And if we scroll down to the bottom, we can see that everything has been completed and it was saved to our sessions folder. This now means that we can move on to the next step, which is to actually test our training model. So if we click the play button, what's going to happen is that it's actually going to spin up a local server that we can use to start in-painting our main character's face over to the scenes we created. This can take a few seconds to spin up, but one of the things that you'll notice is it's going to spin up this thing called a Gradio server. So all you have to do when it appears is click the button and then we'll start in-painting all of our pictures. Okay, so it just finished started. Let's go ahead and click the Gradio app. What this will do is bring you up to a screen just like this. So before we get started, I want to give you a quick overview of actually how this web UI works. Up here in the top left is the model that we trained earlier. Then going across, you'll notice that there's a bunch of different tabs: text to image, image to image. In our case, we're strictly going to stick to the image to image tab. Going down the page, you'll notice that it's asking for some prompts. This is what you want to actually happen in our model. Negative prompts are things we don't want to have to happen. Then going down here, we'll have some more tabs. We're specifically going to be using the in-paint because we want to in-paint our main character's face into the scene that we generated. You'll see that we can drag and drop our picture. And then before we get started, there's a few more prompts that we need, or parameters that we need to update. The first one is mask blur. This is how much we want to put our character's face over the picture that we're going to be blurring out. And I'll show that in a second. Next, what we want to do is actually change the CFG scale and the denoising strength. CFG scale basically says how much do you want to listen or adhere to the instructions that we give it up here in our initial prompt. And then the denoising strength is how much do you want me to keep the current image. So for example, if we basically wanted 100% of the original image, we'd keep it at 0. If we wanted it to like not even care about what's underneath the mask we create, we'd set it to 1. So I found that the best denoising strength happens anywhere between 0.2 and 0.35. And then when it comes to the CFG scale, I found anything between a 5 and a 9 works best, and usually the middles work best. So let's go ahead and drag over our pictures and start with a prompt. Okay, so let's go ahead and drag and drop our image that we want to work with. The next step that we're going to do is actually paint a mask over our character's face. What this is going to do is tell our web UI to basically say, where do you want me to draw inside of? This is what in-painting basically is. So we're going to paint our main character's face, or basically our model, into the area that we just trained. So the next thing that we're going to do is give it a prompt, and we're going to say Carly Rae Hancock face. And then we could add other words like smiling, oil painting, medium style, really whatever we want. But we'll start here and then make some adjustments as we go. Going back down, all of our parameters look great. I'm going to start off with a 6.5 and a 0.22. Like I said, 6.5 is how much we want to adhere to our initial prompt that we provide up here, and the 0.24 is how much do we want to adhere to the face underneath the mask we created. The only other thing that I would recommend is to do a batch count of about 8 or 9. The reason we're going to want to do that is whenever we hit generate over here, what's going to happen is it's going to start to create images. And when we have a batch count of 9, it's going to create 9 different variations of the picture using this prompt and the settings that we set down below. So this might take a few seconds, so we'll just wait. All right, so it just finished generating the pictures, and if you click at it, you see that it actually did a pretty good job, but it kind of like messed up the nose a little bit. So that actually leads me to one other point that we did not do earlier, was we want to click the Restore Faces button. What this is going to do is make sure that our faces actually kind of look like an actual face and don't get all warped. So I'm going to generate it one more time, and this should make it look more like a face this time. Okay, so it just finished working, and I think it did a lot better job in some of the initial pictures. They were a little bit warped, and this looks awesome. So yeah, just like that, you've created a few pictures that look honestly just like our main character in our book. So what you want to do is whenever you find an exact picture that you like, well, you can do, I think I like this one. What you'll do is just hit save, and you'll rinse and repeat and download all these pictures for each of the different scenes in the book. This part is a little tedious just because sometimes the pictures won't turn out great initially, so you'll have to come back and say, I don't want it to look as much like my picture underneath, so you'll bump this up, or for whatever reason, it's not really listening to what I'm telling it to do, so I need to bump this up a little bit more. So yeah, that's how it works. So keep continuing this process for each one of the scenes that you generate in your book, and then next we'll move on to the next step. All right, welcome to the final step, step number 9. What we're going to be doing in this one is creating our children's storybook using a tool called Canva. And what's great is everything that we're going to be doing is within the free plan, so you don't have to worry about paying for anything. But what we're going to do is copy over all the pictures we just in-painted, all of our main pictures, main character's face, into the Midjourney pictures. And we're going to paste those in Canva, and then we're going to start adding our storyline, and everything's going to wrap up. So yeah, let's hop into the very last step. So what you're looking at right now is canva.com. If you haven't already created an account in Canva before, just go ahead and do that real fast. You should just be able to log in with Google or something. But once you've logged in, the process to create your book is super simple. What we're going to do is just click Create Design, and then we're going to head down to a custom size. Now, if you remember from earlier, all of our pictures were 512 pixels by 512 pixels. So we'll go ahead and click Create Design, and this will bring us to our Canva board where we can start adding in all of our pictures. And what you'll notice real fast, just give you a quick overview, is we have our design where you could copy in normal stuff if you're making templates, flyers, websites, really anything. Elements if you want to draw some squares or something. Uploads, this is important. This is where we're going to drag and drop all of our pictures. What you would do is just go into your Finder and drop all the pictures you just created over here. It'll take a second to upload. Next, we can add some text and so forth and so forth. But what we're going to do is go ahead and, I'm just going to show you real fast. What we'll do is once you've uploaded your pictures, we'll go ahead and drag them in here. What we'll need to do is resize them to match this 512 by 512 page. Fantastic. And what we'll do is just keep doing this for each one of the pictures in our storybook. What you'll notice though is right now I'm just dragging and resizing, and they fit perfectly because it's 512 by 512. But if you zoom out a little bit, just a little cheat that I want to show you guys is if you just bring the picture kind of on the border, it'll automatically snap it to the right size. So we'll just keep doing this, and you'll do that for the entire process, going all the way down. The next thing that I want to show you though is we actually need to add text. So here would be our cover picture where we're going to add our title and our cover letter. But down here is where we'll actually start adding the text from our book. So what you'd want to do is type in square or rectangle. And once you do that, it says to hit R. So that's what we're going to do. Hit R, and it comes up with a empty rectangle. Drag it across the bottom of our book, and you'll see that it allows us to add text. This is where you would actually go back over to ChatGPT, and once you do that, you'll be able to copy and paste all of the stories that we made from earlier. So you can see here's our story about Carly. So what we would do is just copy the first paragraph, come back in here, paste it. This is a little long, so what you can do, move the font, change the styles. I think around 12 to 11 is fine, and then just change it to a style that you find that you think looks great. Remember, this is a kid's book, so have fun with it. And then the only other thing you're going to want to do is just set the background to a white background, move it down, and now it fits. So yeah, now you have a little storybook with captions across the bottom. So you just keep adding all the different rectangles, pasting in the pasting in your prompt, and you'll do that going the whole way through. Finish this real fast, and then what we'll do next is create our actual book. So the best way to do this is to go into the top right hand corner and hit the share button. Once you hit the share button, you're going to want to hit download. Whenever you hit download, what it's going to ask is, how do you want to save this? Well, in our case, we actually want to do this as a PDF standard. Once we do that, you'll see that it's asking us to do all 4 pages. We want that to happen, so we're going to press save. And this will take a few seconds to download, but once it's done, it's going to create our book. And you'll notice that we have our little stories across the bottom. So yeah, that's actually how you go about creating a kid's storybook. You just come back in here, maybe add some more text to the title cover. Really, it's whatever you would like to do. But yes, you just created your first children's storybook. That's awesome. Now, you'll have to let me know down in the comments below how your kids react once you read them their first hyper-personalized children's book where they're the hero of their own story. So congratulations. But before you go, I want to talk to you real quick about how I think this could be a great business opportunity. All right, let's get down to the fun stuff and talk about how this idea can start to make you money. So first, I want to start looking big picture and then start narrowing down into how this idea has already been validated in the market. So looking macro, the children's and young adult book market is about an $11.3 billion market, which is huge, and it's only growing. So what's crazy about this is from the dawn of time until now, you've pretty much created a book, done all the text, send the children's book off to an illustrator of some sort. They create the pictures, and it's an iterative cycle to where it can take up to like a few weeks to a month to create a children's book. Now this is a lot of work, but as you've seen with ChatGPT, Dreambooth, and Midjourney, we've done this process in probably just a day's worth of work, which is crazy. So let's dive into some examples of people already making money with this idea. The first one that I want to show you is from Amar. Amar spent a weekend doing something very similar to what we did to create just a generic kids children's book. What's awesome about this is that his book is featured already on Amazon, and what's even more crazy is the fact that his story was so unique that it actually got published over in the Times magazine. So this actually really blew up in popularity just because the game's changing. What used to take a month can now take a weekend. In addition to this, we have Linus, who has actually created a website called Bedtime Story. But here's why this idea is so powerful. What you'll notice is that it can craft powerful bedtime stories. So what you would do if you were to log in was just to give it a small prompt, kind of similar to what we did with ChatGPT, and it would take it from there and generate a story and throw in a few generic pictures that kind of relate to the story. I think this is awesome, and you can actually go ahead and see some of the stories that were already created by other people. So here's an example of Loki, the Siamese cat who lived forever. So something about a cat and living, and it just generates all these pictures and this cool story. But what I think is even more interesting is the fact that our books are hyper personalized to the kids that we're going to be reading to. What I think is amazing is when you hand that book or read that book to the kid, and the fact that they get to see their faces in the story. I mean, they won't be able to put the book down. I know when I let Carly read the book about her, she read the entire thing. It would not let me talk until she finished because she thought it was super cool. So that's why I think it's such a great business idea, is the fact that people are already doing it. They're already making money off this. As you can see, Linus is charging almost $10 a month for an idea that's similar. So yeah, I think this is a great business idea. You'll have to let me know if you end up trying it out. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching the entire video all the way through. You're awesome. And just to recap all the awesome things you just did, you created an entire children's storybook using ChatGPT. You then used Midjourney to create pictures that have never existed before. Then you used Dreambooth to put your main character's face and all the scenes you generated. And lastly, you used Canva to create a children's storybook, tying everything together and put it into a PDF so you can now share it or read it to your kid. So if you have any questions or got stuck during any of the process, feel free to add it to the comments below. I'll be sure to help out. If you found this video helpful or liked it, please be sure to hit the like button. And if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit the subscribe button because I have a lot more ideas that I want to work on later. So yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and let me know how it turns out. Have a good one.